Hi, my name is Tiffany Blatnick, and this is my week 3 assignment biome and plant community video. So the area I chose to focus on is actually fairly close to where I live. It's a little more wild than Denver proper. It's actually in Jefferson County, which is just outside of Denver County. This is Crown Hill Lake Park. It does have a wildlife sanctuary, and it is fairly occupied by people and pets on a pretty regular basis. But with that said, there are a lot of wildlife out here, including many forms of flora and fauna. This particular area has a tendency to be pretty windy mostly year round, just given the fact that it's located on a hill. So some of the plants have a tendency to kind of grow sideways, which is, I find, very interesting. The temperature here, Colorado seasons are pretty variable. It's fairly warm and dry in the summer. We can reach temps up to about 100 degrees, give or take. And then during the winter, it can be pretty frigid cold. Although there are December days where it's bright and sunny and 50 degrees out, spring is unpredictable. Even looking at the weather, you just never really know. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be nice today and it's raining outside as I record this. Fall is usually one of the more predictable seasons. There is not a huge amount of rainfall. Most of our water we get actually from snowmelt during the winter in the mountain regions. Crown Hill Lake itself is actually a man-made lake. With that said, there is a cemetery right next to this park, and that cemetery uses water rights from Crown Hill Lake. So the water can vary. Unfortunately, they use it to water their lawn. So one of the most predominant trees in this area is the Russian olive. This tree is naturalized at this point. It is not native, hence its common name. It does come from Russia. With that said, it has become a staple for songbirds for nesting purposes. You will often find many songbirds within this tree. With that said, some individual Russian olive trees have a tendency to create a symbiotic relationship with different bacterium in the soil. The soil in these areas, not all individual trees will end up creating that relationship, but those that do, it provides a home and food for the bacteria. And for the tree, there's actually thorns on this tree. And if you or an animal gets poked by them, yes, it can hurt and it can be a deterrent. But if it has created this symbiotic relationship with different bacteriums within the soil, it can actually create an infection, and it can be quite abrasive and itchy, and takes quite some time to heal. My father and I actually removed a Russian olive from our front yard one year, and that tree had created a relationship, and we were covered in welts and sores, and learned this after the fact. So good thing to note. Curled dock, this plant is edible, although I'm going to give a disclaimer right now. Do not take my word of advice here that it is edible and go out and eat this plant. I do not suggest eating any wild foods without actually being in person with an expert and being 110% certain. You know what you're doing, they know what they're doing. Even if it is an edible plant, some plants can be in areas where there's dog pees on them. There are toxins in the soil if there's fertilizers or pesticides. Different areas have different water runoff, and there could be some contaminants within that water. Just be really, really aware and do your research before you go outside eating anything. Okay. But this plant also is a food source for many small animals, including mule deer who are in the area, many rodents, birds, as well as rabbits and raccoons and other things. This plant does get eaten quite often. Honey locust, once again, this is a naturalized species. It is not from the United States, nor is it from this area. I believe that it is naturalized, or no, I'm sorry, it is from the United States, but it's from the eastern states. It is naturalized now in this area. It is a food source to many animals. Humans can also eat the seeds within the pods, but once again, be very cautious. This plant actually requires specific preparation practices to avoid certain toxins within the plant. So don't go eating this, please. With that said, it is also a songbird nesting site, and I actually really like this picture. This is one of the favorite pictures I took and put on my iNaturalist account. I just really like the background. It's a beautiful area. Um, this is broadleaf cattail. This plant is amazing, and it is also obnoxious at the same time. So broadleaf cattail, and pretty much any form of cattail, any species of cattail, is really good at what it does when it comes to reproduction. So not only does it have a rhizomal system where it can send off a root shoot and then pop up a genetically identical plant right next to the grouping of cattails, but I'm sure you've seen the seed pods on top that during the late summer and fall burst open and send thousands of seeds flying in the air. Not only is this possible by wind, but it's also possible by water. And then you have the rhizomal situation, underwater, underground. These plants are prolific. One concern that is a good thing to note here is that any sort of fertilizer or anything that may make this plant grow more can actually make it grow out of control, which is astounding. Many parks and recreation departments and other sites will actually have to keep this species under control because if not, it will go crazy and create an imbalance, especially when it comes to the water ecology. With that said, a favorite nester in these plants is the red-winged blackbird, and that's one of my favorite birds, and they're just so beautiful to see flying out of these thickets of cattail with their bright, red wings against those black. It's just really pretty to see. Showy milkweed. This species is very important when it comes to a specific pollinator. So there are many species of butterfly and moth who use this plant as a food source, including the monarch butterfly. Plains cottonwood. This is probably another one of the more predominant species of trees. It is a very fast growing and very large tree. It does like to be near water. With that said, I personally find a lot of solace with the plains cottonwood for several reasons. I use it for bowery, which is I make archery like bows and arrows. I like to use it for bow work, for quick use bows or quickie bows. With that said, it also in the springtime, the little leaf buds that come out, you can make a balm from this, and it smells beautiful, and it's really nice to put on any sort of abrasion or cut. It's actually in the Bible, there's a biblical section. It's the balm of Gilead. But once again, do your research before you start using anything or eating anything or making anything, especially when it comes to things that can touch your body or go into your body. And then also just site use. You don't want to go harvesting where you're not supposed to. Great mullein, once again, another incredible plant. This plant is also edible. It does provide food for many animals in the area, especially rabbits. Once again, though, just do your research. Bring somebody along with you who knows what they're doing. Its leaves are amazing. They are so soft. A lot of folks in the area call it lamb's ear, but there is another plant that is not related that uses that as a common name, so I tend to not try to use that as an identifier for this plant. Rubber rabbit bush. This plant is actually another incredible food source, especially for elk and deer during the fall and winter months. It's a very hardy plant. It does have many nutrients within it. And as you can see, I took this picture a couple of months ago, but as you can see, it's still almost like fully formed. So all parts of the plant are edible for elk and deer, and they choose to kind of nosh on this when they can't find anything else. Cattle have been known to eat it as well, but it can cause some digestive issues for domestic livestock. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. With that said, all of these plants have a tendency to grow in fairly dry and rocky soils. They're definitely not something that you're going to find everywhere, but this particular group of plants is lucky enough to be near a lake and kind of marshy area. So good for them. It's a beautiful area, and I spend a lot of time there. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.